6 months ago, our studio set out on a journey to create a game with unique movement mechanics under the working title Storm Dart. First there was a capsule, then there was a hoverboard, then some basic environments, then the capsule turned into a girl, then the girl was being chased by a storm, then robots, and then that was pretty much it. You're probably expecting to get a new devlog on Storm Dart, but that's not gonna happen. It's not because we finally chose the game's official name. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mitko, and I'm pleased to present you Overrider, a hoverboarding action-adventure where a girl sets out to save her hometown from an evil AI. And that was the intro to my sales pitch, but now let's get to the devlog. I'll start with the main hero. Her name is Vyra, which means whirlwind. Last time in the comments the opinions on her model were split, but we decided to keep this aesthetic for numerous reasons. Vyra is now fully textured, the size of her hoverboard has been reduced considerably, and it has a basic texture as well. The grapple hook ability now has a short animation before the rope reaches the anchor, which makes it look a little bit more natural. And it wouldn't be a boarding game without rail grinding. But it's still lacking some proper animations and effects. When colliding at high speeds, Vyra has an animated reaction to the collision, and there's a camera shake effect to make you feel extra nauseous. Maybe we can put a setting in the menu that lets you toggle that. Oh, and failing to land a trick now results in falling off the board and taking damage.
Now do you see why we used the model with the helmet? Imagine her falling like that. Sweet, sweet Vyra Jr.
But I digress. So with all that done, we conducted our first playtests with chosen members of our community.
I almost wish that there was like a J-curve of like the slower you go, the more control in the air you have.
Doing the tricks feels a little unintuitive. Also the fact that I open a chest and then if I have speed and I will maintain it, I don't get the items.
As a result of the corrections, Vyra's movement is now much more responsive and her momentum is now better preserved when making sharp turns or going uphill. Would you like to get your hands on an early build of Overrider as well? There's a way you can. Oh, but I'm not telling you just yet, you have to keep watching. Speaking of watching, watch out for these fellas. We have some of the enemy robots fully modeled, textured and animated. The robots are not very smart and are not very interesting in terms of implementation. Their purpose is to keep you moving, and on some occasions you can choose to ignore them. Engaging and destroying them, however, will reward you with scrap. And what is scrap, you ask? Scrap is the result of us throwing away a huge portion of the game design and completely redoing it, that's what it is. After lots of thinking and some crying, we decided to change the entire game's objective. We removed the storm that was chasing the player. You're no longer pressed for time and have freedom to explore the world. We also removed the entire aspect of crew management that I showed you last time. Players will not be recruiting people aboard the main base and will not have to look for provisions. The story screen? Also gone. You won't be collecting story bits from chests. Now the scrap I mentioned is a resource that you can use to craft new abilities and upgrades for the main base, which by the way looks like this. Without this you just saw, you're probably thinking,
well, what the hell is left of the game? One video you're adding stuff and another you're taking them out. You seem very confused.
Yeah, absolutely. Game design can be indeed quite confusing. You tweak something minor and suddenly the whole game doesn't make sense anymore. In its core, Overrider is an action-adventure hoverboarding game. The focus of Overrider is the hoverrider. Can we please cut that out? We kept in the game's strongest asset and removed the mechanics that either rush your core experience or are completely detached from it. To compensate for what was lost, we focused on level design and world building. We are designing the game so that players would spend more time on each location trying to beat a certain challenge. When you're done with a node and you have the resources needed to travel, you can move to the next one on the world map. And instead of going left to right on the world map, you now have full freedom. The new game objective is to hack 3 outposts at the far corners of the map. Once the outposts are hacked, the end game is revealed. However, to hack an outpost, you need to collect its adjacent encryption keys, which are scattered across the world map. Finding a key also unlocks part of the game's story. And the story, we have it mapped out in Milanote. It may look like a lot, but only about 10% will make it in the final game. You also might be interested to know that there are different endings. When you unlock an encryption key, it tells a fraction of the story from a neutral point of view. How you react to what you've just learned determines the outcome of the game. And while part of the team was busy reworking the entire game in a negative time span, Sergo and Nadia have been making progress in the art department. Sergo's approach to Overrider's visuals is to use kit bashing and trim textures. That means that lots of different objects will share the same material, and with clever mapping and shader tricks, we create a giant set of small objects that we can then use to build bigger objects, like Lego. You already got a glimpse at the main base and the enemies, but we also have the workbench, which is more like a work shack actually. I have no idea why we keep calling it workbench. We got the fuel crystal, a chest, and not a whole lot more right now, honestly. The art has been moving very slowly up until now. However, as we stack more and more kit objects, the process will get faster. I do have some cool concepts of various locations I can show though. If something doesn't go horribly wrong, pretty soon you should be seeing glimpses of these locations in the game. If you like the progress so far and don't want to miss the next update, consider subscribing to the channel. We are already close to 10,000 subscribers, which for me frankly is insane. Thank you for all the support and feedback. Having so many people engage with your work is really amazing. Alright, I think it's time to let you know how you can get your hands on an early build for testing. We choose our testers based on how involved they are with us and the community. When there's a test session inbound, we'll announce it on Discord. However, the announcement will only be visible to members with the gaming role, so if you're interested in our upcoming projects, make sure to get that one from the roles channel. Now let's talk audio. Every cool game needs an equally cool soundtrack to go along with it, and in the case of Overrider, well, actually you've been listening to it for a while. We're once again working with Alex Kostov, who previously made the wonderful soundtrack of Lifeslide. This time, however, we've taken a different direction because Overrider is not a cutesy wholesome paper-playing game about life, but more like its older punk sister who's into extreme sports. Overrider's soundtrack aims to have a late 90s/early noughties feel, but with modern electronic elements and some ethnic motifs. To keep the boarding game spirit up, we're experimenting with various genres like alternative rock, drum and bass, and some dark form of house music. Alex is extremely talented and quick to bring his ideas to life. We'll keep trying out new things and pick the ones that stick the most. In terms of sound effects, we have basic movement sounds for the player. For that, we're using our own mixing system called Blenda. It's a weird little tool that is quite finicky to work with, but it enables us to set up various sound effects without the need of a major plugin like Fmod or Wise. You can get this plugin for free on the asset store, but keep in mind it's a little bit rough around the edges. We also have a couple of key sound effects for the main game actions. With each added sound, the game starts to feel more lively. So, what's next? Well, we need to put a lot of work on the environments. Everything from the ground to the sky has to be made pretty. We definitely need lots of VFX, some post-process effects, and more animations. We are already working with the designer for the user interface, and it's currently cooking. This concludes my progress report on Overrider. It has been a wild ride, and since there haven't been a lot of hoverboarding games lately, we don't have a lot of references to use. That can be tough, but it's also very exciting. Once again, thank you all so much for the support and feedback. It's deeply appreciated, and as always, I can't wait to show you more. If you know somebody who might like this game, send this video to them. Let's make the hoverboarding game community great again.